What up? Happy Tuesday. It is 8:06, so we are live. Welcome to Free Thinkers. Welcome to another Tuesday night episode of your favorite adult content, adult-based conversation, live television, internet, podcast show. Sometimes we don't know what to call us. We just have a live conversation. So that's what Free Thinkers is. We do live conversation. So welcome to the show. Give me a few seconds to kind of look down and look up at the same time while I make sure that this video is public on my personal page. So that way, any comments that you may make that are on my personal page on this video will show up in our little comment section. And then from there, like Kevin, what's up? Like Kevin puts on here, we put your comments on the screen. So just give me a second to make sure that my page video is private. You can follow us over on the YouTube channel if you have not done that yet. And of course, join us on the Facebook Free Thinkers page if you have not done that either. That's how you stay up to date and in tune with all the stuff that we have going on, our Tuesday night live conversations, what the topics are of the Tuesday night live conversations. So if you are not following us on those two spaces, you need to do that. We would love to have you join us on YouTube and our Facebook group. The Facebook group has just a variety of different topics every single day, all day long. Just all of us post different things. So we have all kind of different things happening on the Facebook page. The YouTube channel pretty much serves its purpose for hosting all of our live conversations. So any time you're like, man, what other stuff do these people be talking about? Or if we've had conversations that you were a part of, or topics that you hadn't, been able to tap into, you can watch all of our videos over on our YouTube channel. So absolutely follow us over on the YouTube channel. That is Free Thinkers Worldwide. And of course, join both pages. So I've got it marked public on my page. So any comments that you make on my personal page video, on the Free Thinkers Facebook page video, or on the YouTube live chat, all of those will pop up here in our comment section. So we will oftentimes throw your comments up here, and we'll talk about the stuff that you guys talk about in the comments too. So there are ways to engage with us outside of just being on the show. Some people are not really big into live, and that's cool. You can engage with us live in comments. You can always engage with us after the show is over. You can watch the show and you can type your comments in there, and we always respond. So anytime that the conversation continues past an episode, we keep the conversation to go as long as you do. So lots of ways to engage with us. If you want to get involved with tonight's conversation, you do need to go to the Facebook Free Thinkers page. At the very top, there's a pinned post that basically has the StreamYard link. There's also an event created on the Facebook page and on my personal page. The StreamYard link is in that as well. I believe it may even be in the comment section. But every week, the StreamYard link changes. So that's why you have to follow the page so that you can tap into the fresh link every week. So tap the StreamYard link. It'll either bring you directly into the panel, or you'll have to copy and paste it, but it'll bring you directly into the panel, so do be prepared. You can tap in a little bit, late if you're running a few minutes late, that's fine. Of course, just kind of sit tight and listen to what we're talking about so you can follow where we're at. And if you need to leave a little bit early, if it's getting late, that's okay. You can tap out a little bit early as well. But if you are going to join the show, we do expect that you're going to engage in conversation, so we look forward to your perspective. And that's pretty much it. Tonight's topic is interesting. Oh, I did absolutely fail to mention share. If you're watching the channel right now, please hit the share button. We want to reach as many people as we can. We want to grow Free Thinkers. We want to add so many different perspectives from different people that we don't know to our mix. And we do that by y'all telling other people about us and what we do. So hit the share button, please. Invite people to the page. Come to the page yourself. Come hang out with us sometimes if you ever see us out and about. But share the page, like the page, subscribe, follow to all of us. If you have a page as well, we reciprocate that love. So hit the share button. Tonight, though, we are going to talk about the pros and cons to or of compliance. And that can go a lot of different directions. Q and I kind of started off with one idea really quickly, and then boom, it went somewhere else. But it's all under the umbrella of compliance, giving compliance, not giving compliance. So I put some prompts up in the invite and, the information about tonight's conversation, just to kind of give you some things to think about. What is the consequence to these things? Are there benefits to these things? So, conversation can go all over the place. There's a few people who said they're going to join us tonight. So I expect some folks are going to tap in here a little bit late. But if you have questions or if you have things you want to throw into the mix and you're watching us, put it in the comment section. Throw it in the comments, type the live comments, type the live chats, and we will also just kind of pick apart what your thoughts are as well. A lot of people asked if we were going to talk about the abortion issue. And we've talked about this before. So if you go to our YouTube channel and you look at our videos, like, we've had abortion conversations before. So this is not a topic that we steer away from. We've just talked about it before. But naturally, because this is something that's taking place right now, we really wanted to get into more than just the issue of abortion, because people are always going to agree to disagree on whether it's right or whether it's wrong. My issue is, the element of compliance. How many more things are they going to take away from us? And so this is kind of like where we went from just talking about abortion being right or wrong to the slippery slope that could be this compliance behavior that I think that many of us is known to have. So compliance, pros and cons to compliance.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Before we go general, let's go specific. Let's go specific real quick.
Did you have a chance to look at any of the stuff that I added to the pictures?
No, but I'll look.
Okay.
How do you feel about the Roe versus Wade being overturned? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm very, very, very disappointed. I'm very angry as a woman. I'm not angry as a woman that's, needing to keep abortion on the options table for myself personally.
Right.
But I'm angry as a woman. I'm angry as a human who has body autonomy, who should have the right to be able to decide what I do with my body. And even though that baby is a person, I mean, because that's what abortion is. It ceases life at a certain period, right? It's still my body. It's in my body. It's mine. It's mine to decide. You don't have to like it. We don't have to like it. I don't fucking like it, but it's my body. It's my choice. And for that to once again be challenged. And I'm not talking about once again in the abortion conversation. I'm talking about, we just went through this with the vaccine. We just went through this mandatory, you have to get this if you want to keep this job. And I'm not about that. Like there's a meme that I posted of Harvey Weinstein, and it was like, you're not going to get this job if you don't do such and such. That's not a fucking option. Those are the options that were given. So for my body to be up for legislation once again, and me to be told what I can or can't do with my fucking body, mine. You don't have to like it. Don't get one. You don't have to like it. Use birth control, pull out, don't have sex, take plan B. There's a million things you can do if you don't want to have an unwanted pregnancy. And there's a lot of reasons the pregnancy happens outside of those reasons I just gave. Rape happens, bad relationships happen, abuse happens, shit happens. Shit happens. Horrible things happen. And nobody gets abortion because they're fucking fun. But it's my body, it's my choice. And men just said, no, it's not. No, it's not. We get to tell you what you can and can't do with your body. Because they say. Because they say. So I am very angry. I'm very disappointed.
So let me hit this at another angle as I present this to you. They didn't ban it.
True.
They
in most states
took away
what
they did.
In most states they did.
They took away the federal mandate. So
right.
That gives each state the ability to decide how they want to proceed
right.
with it.
Many which have already been illegal. They're trigger laws, many which have already become illegal like by midnight that night. So Louisiana, There was 4 southern states that immediately, like that day by midnight, went into effect that they were illegal on every level. Texas and another handful was like set to do that in the next 30 days. It was going to become illegal. Now, what they did save protection for was that you won't get fined or penalized if you leave your state to go to another state, to travel to another state to get one done. So you're right, they're not outlawed entirely, but when you make something so difficult to obtain, you remove that option.
Okay, so Nikki, I think let me say this. I think there are certain things that should be difficult to obtain. I personally, and I'm with you on the rights, as far as I don't like rights being taken away from individuals who, I don't even know how to say that. That's one of those things to where I think men should have a say so, but I don't think men should have a final say so in it. That's really, I mean, because the children, even in those situations, they're still two people's kids. The child still belongs to a man and a woman. So
Sure.
it's not the people, oh, shut up, you a man, you ain't got, no, that does affect me.
Right.
I don't think men should have final say so. But to go back to what I was saying, in things like that, I don't think it should be easily accepted. I don't know. But then again, I don't want it to be so hard to where it's only obtainable for privileged people also.
And that's what's going to end up happening. That's
Yeah.
who's going to end up being able to get an abortion. A 14-year-old girl who was raped at a party that she wasn't supposed to be at, that she may have drank a little bit, or maybe she smoked a little bit of weed, or maybe somebody threw her a pill and she didn't know. But the 14-year-old girl has no way in Texas. The next state over, I believe, I want to say, is New Mexico. And then it goes west. Nothing in the like northern corridor.
But then, okay, so then on when it comes to, I am a supporter of states' rights. I don't think the government should be involved in everything. I think the government should be involved in civil liberties that give everyone the opportunity and give them the right to be treated as equal human beings. I think the government, I don't think states should get to choose and when it comes to that type of thing like that. That should be like the civil rights movement, anything LGBTQ, when it talks about, the discrimination laws. I don't think that should be a states' right thing. I think that should be a federal. Those should be
because
federal
you
mandates.
have states that are obviously way more weighted than other states, right, making it unfair for all of your residents. You know what I'm saying?
So let me say this. So outside of the human rights elements, then I definitely believe in states' rights. Just like, I mean, the marijuana is not federally legal. That's something that the states have. Each state has their own right to govern it the way
And we
that they
see
want
how
to.
stupid that is. But
this is what I'm saying though. Those states who said, I'm like Colorado and then the ones who started jumping on it early profited heavily from it.
Right.
And a lot of these states, some of them were in bankruptcy. I think Illinois is rolling back on, because Illinois has been bankrupt.
Oh yeah. So
it's like, if it makes sense, then it's going to happen.
It makes
if enough
sense.
People speak out against it, if you start losing numbers from your state, and people be like, no, y'all too whatever, I'm leaving. I'm going to the state across. I'm going to Louisiana, I'm going to Oklahoma, whatever the case is. If people start leaving, or if people start withdrawing, and ultimately what you're doing is withdrawing your dollar, whether you're selling your home, moving somewhere else, leaving for another, you're withdrawing your dollar from that state.
And that's the solution.
My hope is that everything will balance itself out from that aspect. If there's enough people who are really against it, I hate to, because that sounds like the go back to Africa type stuff. You don't like it, go back. I don't mean it like that, but it's like, if you don't like it, then that's what I prefer. If you got 50 states, then I don't think all of them should be the same, because then no matter where you go, it could still be the same oppression no matter where you go. You have the opportunity to go somewhere that it's your cup of tea. You know what they believe in.
Here. People are moving to Texas because we were not a state that forced the mandate. People were leaving New York. People were leaving California. People were leaving other states where their states forced the vaccine, and they also removed like the religious exemption. So in Texas, you still can utilize a religious exemption for your kids to not have to vaccinate to go to school. People literally move here for that. So yes, it does give you an option, right? Like assuming that an option is something that is actually obtainable for an individual, right. Especially in 2022, it gives you an option. There's no doubt about that. But it also makes it very punitive for those that either one, don't have an option to leave, or two, really don't want to fucking go anywhere. Why do I have to leave Texas to be able to have complete constitutional
all right. Well, let me sound rude.
Over my body.
These people are going to South America to get a new butt put in because it's cheaper over there. Like, if it's something that you really want, or if it's something that's needed, then you can make it happen. And my only issue is I want to make sure that the options are still there. If I ain't gonna say total, but I think I would be against if there was a federal mandate against it to where it wasn't possible anywhere in the 50 states.
Right.
But it's just saying we're giving states rights. So I guess my biggest question, and this is the question I have for you.
It's almost like an abortion apologist. That's almost like a pro-life apologist, right? Well, you can get one. You just got to go way to fuck 3,000 miles across the country, even though you don't have a car and you might not have an income and you're, 16 years old and you're trying to hide this from your fucking religious, zealous parents who are probably going to harm you if you have this baby.
Are kids able to do that at that age? Are they're able to get an abortion?
I don't know
without
if
it's 16, the consent of their parents?
I don't know if it's 14. I don't know if it's 16. I don't know if it's 18. Like I don't know. And every state may have different rules for that. I don't know. I think that there are protections that allow certain situations where parents don't have to be included in that particular dynamic. And I could be speaking out of turn. I don't know, but I believe that to be the case in some cases where parental consent doesn't have to be given. I think that was some of the outroar that went around with like birth control, is that parental consent doesn't have to be given. If a girl just goes into Planned Parenthood, she 14, 15 years old, and she asks for birth control, like they give it to her. So I don't know if abortion is the same thing. I do not know, but that's not to say that, one can't lie or one won't always find the doctor who will do it. Right. But it's almost like, well, we removed so many of the fucking ways that made it accessible for all income levels to obtain this medical procedure that's been approved by the medical community. We're going to make it so hard for you to get one. That's the same thing as keep your legs closed. It's the same thing. We'll keep your legs closed and then you won't get pregnant. Well, get the fuck out of here with that. Like old archaic. There's more. Anybody who's had sex knows there's more to it than just that. For God's sakes, let's not be ignorant when it comes to the game of sex.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying?
I definitely agree with that.
Like,
but I guess my question is where, and this is what I want to see, and I kind of spoke on this yesterday on High IQ. These states that are banning and taking away that option, what is the information? What are you going to do to? Knowledge is the main. You want to empower people with knowledge, whether it's young people, whether it's women, whatever you want to empower them with knowledge. You want to empower them with resources. You want to give them preventative, So let me ask this too. So does that? So that I'm guessing that also in those states, a lot of them, it eliminates the Plan B. Is that right?
Well, to my knowledge, in this particular piece of legislation, that had been talked about. I don't know if this was included in that. So I've just not seen personally where they went forward with the Plan B restriction, but that was something that was also on the table, was that if the abortion, if Roe versus Wade was overturned, then they were also going to make Plan B illegal in X number of states. You couldn't do it, by mail. You couldn't obtain it in your state. Some states were also talking about making an IUD illegal. IUD is a totally safe, I don't utilize birth control, but a totally safe form of birth control.
Right.
It's a preventative.
Birth control, it's preventative.
So are you telling us we can't have sex, or are you telling us to be responsible when we do it? So what is the fucking message?
So the people who are against birth control and preventative measures, that shows that you have a different agenda.
And you can't run my body. I am not your fucking church. This country is not your church.
They want
you can't do that.
They want you to help repopulate white society.
I know they do. I know they do. They had to get rid of a bunch, and now they got to bring back some more white babies. Like, I get it. I totally do. And so that furthermore makes me one of those people who is of anti-compliance. I am doing nothing you ask me to do. I am doing nothing that you tell me to do. I am doing nothing I don't want to fucking do. And if I end up having to do those things, there's going to be a massive pushback. Like I am not the lay down and take it type. I'm not. And I'm not confrontational, and I'm not argumentative either, but no means no. We were taught that from a very young age. No means no. And this is not the message that we have been receiving these last couple years, and especially with what took place with Roe versus Wade. And I understand why pro-life advocates feel the way they do. I don't want to fucking cease the life of a baby either.
Right.
Nobody wants to do that. It's a horrible thing. And especially for the woman that has to go through it. But that's her cross to bear. That's her cross to bear with her God, whoever he or she may be, whenever judgment time comes or doesn't come. That's her cross to bear, and that's her body. That's her choice to decide. So this is a very slippery slope, because immediately after this was passed, everybody's like, okay, well, once you give away one set of rights and privileges, they're gonna start coming after the rest of them. They're gonna start coming for more. And so that's kind of what I wanted for us to expand on. Did you ever get to see the statement that I was talking about from John Cornyn, who was the Texas Attorney General for a long time?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I have it up here.
Okay, go ahead.
I have it up here. So like the day that Roe versus Wade was overturned, so this is the United States Senator. He represents Texas. He was a Texas Attorney General for many years.
I booing him the other day though.
Did you?
Yeah.
So it was confirmed. Like, this was his tweet. Like, he actually said this. So Barack Obama obviously said what he said, and then Senator John Cornyn comes in and says, now do Plessy versus Ferguson, and Brown versus Board of Education. That immediately should have been a big red flag for a lot of people, because Brown
he
versus
said that for real.
Say that again.
He said that for real.
He fucking said that. Now do Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board. So to inform you with what these things are, because I was not 100% knowledgeable, and I'm sorry if you can't read this all the way. Plessy versus Ferguson was, I'm going to paraphrase this, and I hope that I don't get this wrong. So feel free to correct me if I fuck this up anywhere. But essentially, Plessy versus Ferguson was a black man who got onto a bus and he sat in the white section. And at the time, 1840, I wrote it down. 1846, 1840 something, 1896. It was constitutional. Basically, what was it? Separate but equal. This is where the term separate but equal came into play. So basically, they could discriminate against you if you were not white, as long as your facilities basically were equal to the same facilities as a white person. So he went and sat on a bus in the white section of the bus, took it to court, trial. Basically, the state of Louisiana was like, oh, well, they didn't violate your civil rights. So this was 1896. So basically, they continued to allow racism and discrimination to happen. So turn around, and eventually 50 years later, then Brown versus Board of Education happens. And this essentially says it don't fucking matter if the facilities are equal, essentially. the schools are the same, if the buses are the same, if the churches are the same, it doesn't matter. You can't segregate. You can't discriminate. He wants, what is there to look at? What could there be to look at with these two cases that he would want to review? This is a fucking sitting United States senator. The fear for a lot of people is they're going to come after so many different civil rights. They're going to come after LGBTQ rights, whether you think they should or shouldn't have it, it's fucking irrelevant. But the protections that they have received could come after those protections. What else is on the chopping block? I think those are like the two main right now. Is obviously civil rights that have been afforded and protections for LGBTQ folks that have been afforded. Like, these are all things that are under the guise of like this Christian America that these people want.
Stop saying Christian America.
Well, that's what they say.
You say the white Christian America. There's two different types of America.
But it's a whole lot of black folks who are pro-life. It's a whole lot of brown folks who are pro-life. It's a whole lot of other people who are compliant with this mentality who are okay with certain things until they're not okay with them. And then when they infringe on their fucking rights, then it's like, oh, wait a minute, but you've been stomping all over other people's for the longest.
But you know, so in theory, I don't have an issue with people who say that they're pro-life. I don't have an issue with that in theory.
Sure.
But and again, it's one of the things I talked about. It's the individual. You have to understand what their focus is.
Right.
If their focus is protecting life, and that's all it is, then I get where they're coming from. And just like on the flip side, someone who's pro-choice, if their focus is giving a person the right to manage their own body and not having government interference in it, I get that. It doesn't have to. I don't think, depending on your motivation, I don't think it makes you a disgusting person on either side of it. Now, depending on your motivation, it can make you.
It can, right.
Depending on what your motivation is.
That's true.
Okay, so we 30 minutes in. Are we gonna go broad, or you want to stay right here?
I mean, we can go broad because for me, this was just like an extension of what I've been saying the last 2.5 years with everything COVID related. I've hashtagged the words "more than a virus" for like 2.5 years faithfully, because like I even reposted a video that I did like 9 months ago, and it was about compliance. Like, when we start giving away things, what else we are going to co-sign on giving away? It's a very slippery slope. And so it started with vaccine mandates and forcing people to have to get vaccines for work. Nobody should have been forced to have a vaccine to go to work or lose your job. Like, that's literally, if you don't think about how that would work in a situation where you have somebody who's going to a job and their boss, wants them to perform. Let's say they got a dirty old boss man, and he wants the girls to perform fellatio in order for them to get a job. And they're like, oh my God, I need this job so bad. Let me just go ahead and drop on my knees real quick and do this thing right quick. Like, or I'm not going to, that may sound very foul, but that's the same fucking thing for somebody like me.
That happened at one point in time.
But that's the thing. That's how foul it was for me to know that people were saying, well, if you want to be in society, you have to have this. And if you, or you're the problem. And it was like, but if you just sit back and you wait and you look at what is happening, so it all started with that. And and the thing that I kept hearing so many times, and the thing that I still hear, is people who say, well, it's just what we did. It's just what we do. We've been getting vaccines.
Ain't an excuse for nothing.
But people say we've been getting vaccines from, since we were in kindergarten. We've been getting them since we were a baby, and we're fine, and what's the big deal? And we get flu shots, and we do this, and we do. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal? And it's like, everything is a big deal. It's all a big deal. The fact that people are so complicit because it's the conditioning that you talk about. It's the perfect word. It's the conditioning. So it's easy to just go get me another one because I've been getting them my whole life. Right. They've been forcing them down my children, so it's no big deal. My kids are fine, but our kids aren't fine. Our kids are not fine. And whether you believe that vaccines cause injury is a fucking another story, but they do. Our kids are not fine. So that's almost when people say, oh, well, my kids are fine. No, your kids are on 18 fucking medications. They're not fine. They're not. When did this happen? What is the correlation? What is your common denominator? What is their diet? You know what I was like, no, they're not. But okay, because your kid's not dead or hasn't had a heart attack or doesn't have, Guillain-Barré syndrome or, now has a host of other fucking medical issues because of some strange thing that happened after getting a vaccine. People were so complicit until something bad happened. And then when something bad happened, people were like, oh, well, maybe I should. No. So going along with forced vaccinations, going along with, I guess, not speaking out against them. It's one thing to get it because you felt like that was the best decision for you. That's fine. That's, I respect people's decision to get it, just like I wish they'd fucking respect my decision not to get it. But I respect people's decision. It's your fucking body. I don't care what you do with your body. It ain't mine. I'm not sleeping with you. You're not mine. Like, I don't care what you do with your body. So get it. That's fine. But don't make it to where I have to get it.
I agree with that.
And the fact that that wasn't an option is a problem for me. And the fact that so many people co-signed on that train is a problem. The fact that so many people thought that that was the end all be all. And if you don't get the shot, you are the one that's killing people.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, y'all lying. Stop lying. That's not.
So here we are 3 years later. What do we know about? Okay. So here we are 3 years later with all that we know about this vaccine. Are you going to get more fucking shots? Are you going to take the fourth booster and the fifth booster? So this just came out a couple weeks ago that a new shot apparently was being rushed for infants and preschoolers. Like, I've seen women on like my mom's, support groups pages that I be on who are like, I need to find a doctor who's willing to give it to an infant like right now. Does anybody know of any doctors that are already doing it for infants? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
And in all honesty, I think the reason that they're going toward the infants is because all of the adults who are going to get it have gotten it, and there's really no new people that's going to get. If you got it, then you got it. If you ain't got it, then you ain't gonna get it. So now they like, we gotta. And I bet you,
wow,
I bet you, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that they giving us, but they just rebranding it to kids.
Right. If it's right.
I had to show my son that it was. I forgot. My daughter had. I forgot what I can't remember if it was she had a cold or she had some allergy issues or whatever it is, and I think it was like children's Tylenol or something like that. And I looked at it. I'm like, okay, so what's the difference between children's Tylenol? Nothing. It's the exact same thing.
Ingredients are the same.
A lesser version, and they charge twice as much.
Yeah.
I'm like, they literally charging us twice as much for a lesser amount of the exact same thing.
Yep. For it to take
it's just rebranding. It's rebranding. That's all. And that's what they're doing right now. No new people, and not even because I got the vaccine. Now I knew that it wasn't gonna prevent me from getting it. But I know enough people who've died to where I said, no, I'm gonna get it. That this is what I choose to do. But I wanted something that was going to help me build up my immunity in worst case scenario. So I got the shots. They helped me. I didn't need to get an extra booster, and even still, I just got over COVID. So there's no need for me to
do anything outside of the vaccine to boost your immune system? I'm just
yes,
curious.
vitamin Z.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
vitamin D, vitamin C,
So you
zinc.
did the regimen. You were
Yeah,
doing
no,
the
I
thing.
got a
Okay.
whole regimen, and
Well,
I
good.
started working out and bringing my weight down and just making sure that I'm healthy
I
and
mean, so
bringing
you
up
were
my
proactive. You didn't just stick your
absolutely
fucking arm out and be like, "Oh, this is gonna solve the problem." Like you
no,
took it seriously. You knew that like there was parts of me like me. I haven't left the fucking house. Like I leave the house every once in a blue moon.
I didn't leave the house
You know,
that whole year. I didn't leave it until I got vaccinated. I did not leave the house. I stayed in the
I
house.
did it, and now we're just used to being home 24/7, right? But like I did it because I've got a son who's a type 1 diabetic. I don't know what this would fucking do to him. I have asthma. Usually it's fine, but everybody who I know is dying because of fucking pneumonia in the lungs. So if I get pneumonia, oh my God, what happens? So what do? I stay home. I tend to the parts of my body that I knew that I could tend to, and that was my defense. That was how I contributed to society by one, staying the fuck away from people and not spreading it or getting it, passing it or whatever, and two, like taking care of my body, with the building of the immune system and stuff like that. So most people that I know that got the vaccine have also gotten COVID. So that's my question to people today: is would you get them? Would you get more boosters? Knowing what you know today, would you be compliant with this shit show they just tried to sell us for 2.5 years, knowing what we know today?
I can't speak for everybody. I'm just saying for me,
right.
If the 2 doses wasn't enough to build up my immunity, then it just ain't nothing gonna build it up.
Right.
And I know, I mean, I've had some people very close to me who have died, and some who had it that weren't vaccinated, and they was like, I almost died. I was real close to dying. I didn't think I was gonna make it, and
sure.
I didn't want to. I didn't want that, just based off of the experiences that I saw.
Right.
So then it becomes, let me build an immunity. I didn't get the booster, but I did get the first 2 shots, and then I got COVID, and it felt like I had the flu.
Right.
And I took my cold and flu medicine, and I went through the process. In 5 or 6 days, I was pretty much better. I still had fatigue for another week or so, and I was I would get tired just walking out to my sidewalk.
That COVID bitch.
And then just a lot of it just took a little while, but it wasn't, I never got short of breath. I never, like a lot of people who talked to me, where I felt like I never felt like I was going to die, or that I was short of breath or anything like that.
Right.
And that's what I took the vaccine for, just to lessen the symptoms when that time came.
So they say, because you don't know, right? You could have.
I don't know, but I mean, based on my opinion,
not gotten a shot, and still your body respond just as well because you are a healthier man.
But like I said, I knew people my age, my range, all of that, and some of them they were like, I almost died.
Right.
So that's just one of those things I ain't trying to play around with.
Right. No, I got it this year. And I don't know how the fuck I got it, because I don't leave the house. I have no idea how I got it.
Right.
But I got it this year, and it was for a week. And of course, I'm not vaccinated. But the first 2 days, I was fucking fearful.
Nikki said she ain't even gonna date nobody who done got vaccinated.
I sure am not. I'm just not. That's just not for me, because my mind works differently. Because that tells me that you're willing to do it. Like, and
what about don't ask, don't tell? What if they was like,
fuck that, I'm asking,
you on a date?
No,
you on a date,
don't ask,
and
don't tell with me. No, not with me.
You like, so are you vaccinated?
Not with me. There is no don't ask, don't tell with me. No, I'm gonna ask, and I need you to tell me the truth.
And so if they prefer to keep it private, then you still not gonna.
That's the end of the date. If you're not gonna tell me, I'm not gonna deal with you. But if you. But
terrible.
No, I ain't finna do it. I ain't got time for that bullshit. I just don't. I don't. But I have found ways to like not ask, but ask, right? So like I have found that, like, it's just better to not ask that question and let it come out eventually on its own.
Why
And I
is
know,
that so important to you? I don't get that.
because I am not going, because it's just not that him and we're not going to vibe. We're not.
You don't know
Yes,
that.
I do. He took a fucking
It's
shot.
like
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
you like
We're not gonna vibe. We're not
if
gonna
we
vibe.
have sex, then his vaccine juice gonna
I don't want that.
get
I don't
on
want
me.
that. No, I don't want. Baby, I'm a true blood. I don't want that. I don't want
Oh
none of
man, that's
that.
funny.
No, I don't. It's a mentality thing. It's a you'll take it, and I'm an anti. No, you'll take it, and that's just no, no, no.
So what if he think the Earth is round?
I'm not fucking with that either.
Oh my goodness! If
I'm
he don't think the Earth flat, then you done with that too?
That's just not. I mean, I can deal with somebody who I could deal with somebody who was questioning, but somebody who was like, "You flat earthers are fucking crazy."
I didn't say that.
But I'm saying,
No,
if that's
no,
the
no,
type of
no.
mentality, if that's the type of mentality that Glober thinks, I'm not.
No, he could be
I'm
like,
not gonna do that.
look, I respect your opinion. I think it's round.
Yeah, and I can't do that, because if I present to you all the reasons why it isn't, and you will not look at them, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Nope.
Okay.
So I anticipate being single for a very long time. I'm okay with that.
Hilarious.
We got somebody joining us tonight. Yeah, I am totally okay with that. If that's the case. I'm gonna step out for 2 seconds. Y'all keep going.
Oh my God, that's funny. Ivory.
Yes.
What's wrong with Nikki?
I was listening a little bit before I jumped on. So you mean her saying she won't date nobody?
She won't date nobody if they vaccinated, and she won't date them if if they believe that the Earth is round.
Well, that's a limited dating pool she pulling from.
That's what I said. That's a small pool. That's a small pool.
Ooh, that's a small dating pool.
So, okay. So we already, I don't know if you want to regurgitate what we talked about already, but that was the specific, but the general that we spread out to is the compliance element, as far as what does this, if they can pull back these laws, then what does that mean for other laws like Plessy versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education? Like, what's next? If we and to tell you the truth, I do agree with Nikki. I think a lot of this started when they were able to put in those vaccine mandates, and there was.
I can't agree. I don't agree with that, but.
You were okay with you were okay with the vaccine mandates?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
But no, the whole, if you're talking about the whole abortion thing now, is that what you're talking about?
Well, indirectly, yeah, we talking about that, but we were actually transitioning to
so what does that mean for more things? But I'm saying, if you're talking about that particularly, like, people have been a concerted effort for decades to see how they can set things up to change it. So I don't want to say it's exactly the same as just a vaccine kind of precipitated it getting here, because even before COVID happened, this was the setup. You know what I mean? They were already trying to stack the court and everything for this result before COVID.
Yeah, when you let that happen with in one instance, when you let it happen, then that's why I do like white people. That's the thing I like about white Republicans, because they are rebellious, and they gonna push back whenever they feel that their civil liberties are being infringed upon. They gonna push back, especially white rural Republican America. And it's actually you can learn something from them. Actually, those are things that you shouldn't just so easily allow the government to dictate the flow of your life.
I agree with all of that, but there are compromises to be made in a civil society when it comes to compliance, and each individual has to decide, or group has to decide, or people of a state or city have to decide what compromises they want to make to be in the civil society they want to live in. because there's always going to be compromises to be made.
So my question, okay, let me back up before I ask this question. I am of the firm belief you always have to be careful, whatever the topic or the agenda is, the machine and the group that's pushing that agenda, that's their only goal, and they're going to push it even to the detriment of the rest of society.
I agree.
Whether it's Democrats, Republicans, evangelicals, LGBTQIA, what the Black nationalists, all the Hebrew Israelites, every single, when there's agendas, they're gonna keep going. That's what I said. In any case, you got to know when to jump off. So anyway, I said all that to say, my question is, the same people who fought to get this pushed, and the actual people in power, the politicians who were able to push it also, based upon what you believe their agenda is, what's going to be next? What's the next push? Because it never stops, right? Oh, okay, we got it, and it stopped. There's always something next after that. What's next?
Based on their agenda, they're going to make it hard to get contraception. That's next.
Yeah.
They're going to make it
just
was that the plan B in the IUD, basically?
It's just going to be, they're never going to want to like say out loud or as definitively as they have said about abortion, but you'll just find those resources are going to become more limited.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next push.
Now, let me ask, because I think there's a lot of people on that train, but the people that's on that train are on the train for different reasons.
Yep.
The people that are on the train, say like yourself, even though you're not on the train, but people who believe that life is life, I value life, I want to protect life. You think that way, but you're not on the train. But for the people who think, for the people who are on the train because of they thinking the way that you think, do you think that those people are going to stay on the train when they find out, oh, now they're taking away contraceptions, now they're taking away different types of preventative measures, now they doing, like, do you think those same people are going to stay on that train?
No.
Ivory, it's a Republican train.
No, because this is still the problem, right? Is whether it's a Republican train or not, whether you agree or disagree, the modern woman has benefited. All modern women, Republican, Democrat, and everything in between, has benefited from contraception and the ability to be able to do family planning. If you try to take us back to the inability to do family planning, even the most traditional woman at this point, there might be a small percentage of like extremely traditional women, right, still out there having 8 or 9 kids. But that's not the majority of even traditional women are not out here having 10 kids. So, and this is the thing, unless it's something wrong, and for most women, it ain't that much wrong. If you meet a woman and she only has 2 or 3 kids, she has utilized contraception.
Okay.
For the most part. I mean, you've utilized contraception if you got 2 or 3 kids. And most modern women have utilized contraception. So I think it will swing too far and they will end up getting blowback and pushback at that point from all kinds of women.
See, so this kind of proves my point, Q, is that it's not going to matter until somebody else is affected. So it's okay to get rid of abortion now because pro-lifers and people who want to protect that, are happy that this is being removed from the table. But now you want to take away my IUDs. Now you want to take away, family planning. Now you want to take away clinics that offer these services because they received funding for abortion services, which is going to reduce, young girls having access to affordable birth control pills to control, mood disorders or, crazy periods or other things that these things are used for besides just, not getting pregnant. You start to remove these other things. And now that another group of people is going to feel the burn and oppression of this legislation passing, now we're going to jump ship. or now we're going to say, oh, well, but not the, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's just frustrating to continue to watch people's, you know, rights be taken away because they don't affect you until you need them, until you want them, until it affects you. Now, oh shit. Now I need this thing. Maybe I need to look at this differently. Like, it shouldn't have to affect you before you realize this ain't my business. Why am I legislating on somebody's personal choices? Whether we like it or we don't is besides the point, and I get that. But to take away Plan B, like that's the great. I mean, an accident's happened already. Plan B serves its purpose. There's no fucking baby at Plan B stages. It's within 24 hours, 72 hours of unprotected sex. Like, stop. Like,
but Nikki, I mean, that still goes to the questions like, when do people believe that life starts? So if you believe life starts when the sperm meets the egg, then Plan B is a termination of a life that has started to some people. So
the sperm doesn't even reach the egg yet with the Plan B. The Plan B kills the sperm from getting in there and doing its thing.
No, that's not Plan B. That's like spermicide. That's not Plan B. That's not Plan B. Plan B makes sure that the egg, the fertilized egg, does not attach to your uterus. That's Plan B.
So the question I asked you guys last night, and this is the question. This is the question.
For some people, that's abortion. Plan B is abortion because the eggs are already fertilized. So that's why this.
And I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far with it. But I know a lot of people do. I know
some
a lot of
people. As soon
do.
as it's fertilized, that's life. But for other people, it hasn't attached to the uterine wall, so it's not life yet. So I'm gonna hurry up and do something before it attaches.
I can call some life, but I wouldn't call it awareness.
So nobody can answer the question. Nobody can answer the question when life begins. The Bible apparently can't answer it.
No, I can answer the question.
Doctors won't answer it. Like,
I think
everybody
can answer the question.
No, I'm saying right, but there's no universal answer. So there isn't unanswered. There are answers.
No, it's not a universal answer because the people who have their own agenda try to muddy up the definition of it.
And right now, the people that have the agenda are those who are treating my body like it's their church, and those who are treating. Yes, they are, because those.
That's not my point. No, that's not my point.
Yes, they are.
I'm telling you my point. My point is life begins. The process of it begins when the sperm enters the egg. That's when life begins. Now, just because I may not go as far as say, well, you can't kill the sperm and the egg 2 seconds after it. I'm not of that belief, but that is the process of where it begins. Outside of that, nothing happens. Once that happens, yes, life begins right there.
And my point being, those that have pushed this law, those that have made this law pass, are those that are cut from a certain type of cloth. Those same people don't have an agreement on when life happens. I just read yesterday that I guess somewhere in the Bible, I tried to look this up for confirmation, and of course, with all things Bible, it's gray. It said that in the Bible, it's written somewhere that birth begins with the first breath. Well, the first breath isn't obviously until that you've given birth, right? So if the Bible says that birth begins at first breath, and I say if because I didn't pull my Bible to look it up to see what it said. I got online to see if I could get confirmation. But if the Bible says birth begins at first breath, then why are we talking about abortion? Because if the Bible says, and we're basing all this shit off what the Bible says, then it don't even start to the first breath.
That's not, but no.
So what does the Bible say? When does the Bible say birth begins? Because that's who's passing these laws. That's who's saying this is why we have to do this.
Let me speak as a free thinker. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Bible. My thing, that is science and biology. I don't know how anybody can refute when life starts scientifically or from biology.
That's why we have a pro-life and a pro-choice debate, because it can't be agreed upon between the communities when life starts.
It's not agreed upon about the people who have their own agenda about what they want to happen from it.
Well, there's that too. Simple. And so they use the gray area of when life begins to meet their fucking needs, which is still abortion.
That ain't great to me. Where it begins is not great to me. If you want to talk about awareness, when does consciousness begin? Those are different things to where does life begin. That's very simple. And it's not even Bible or spiritual. That's biology and science.
But biology and science isn't legislating our laws. The Christians using the argument and the Christian nationalists in this country, or the extreme Christians in this country, the white supremacists of this country who are of Christian belief, who are using this as their reason. This is why these laws are. This is why this law passed.
But Nikki, that can't. Well, it could be why the laws are happening, but that can't only be the case if somebody who, like me, who's not KKK and a right-wing zealot, I can believe the same thing, but not for the same reasons as them. So it's not just them. It can also be biology and science as well. It's not just about some alternative movement. That's not what everybody's thinking. Everybody's not brainwashed by the Bible to have them. And a lot of these people who think,
but in politics they are, and in politics
they really not. They really.
But
not.
That's what they hide behind. That's why the laws get passed the way that they get passed.
They hide behind it. That which they've done since the beginning of
which honestly, in my opinion, makes them horrible representatives. You know what I'm saying? Terrible representatives, but this is what they hide behind, and this is the platform on which they stand. And so then they get the people behind them who believe the same shit that they are swearing that they believe, that they don't believe, the politicians. And this is how the laws get passed in their favor. So it goes back to the agenda being pushed. There's like multiple agendas actually being pushed at one time. And I just have an absolute problem with that, because we're supposed to have separation and we don't have separation.
But I think the problem, Nick, is like everybody who believes that abortion shouldn't happen, that doesn't just have to be a religious belief. I know a lot of people, it is a religious belief, but it doesn't have to be.
Right, but that's the basis in which this law was passed, is on God terms. On what God says is right for humanity and us to take a life or not take a life.
Slavery, but we don't believe in that.
What's that?
Slavery
was on God's terms. That's what people said.
They gave us scripture.
I mean, that's a whole other topic for a whole other show.
No, it's actually similar. It's similar to the point that you're making. If you're just saying the powers that be use the Bible and Christianity to justify their agenda, yeah, they did that for a lot of stuff.
That's what they've been doing.
But that doesn't mean that every person who is spiritual or Christian subscribes to that form of belief.
Of course, that would be totally ignorant to think that. But this is the power in which they use to either one, manipulate, or two, there's a lot of ways you can get people to believe in you, when at the end of the day, you might just be fucking doing this out of compliance because it's what you've always done. That's what you've been told to do. That's what you're supposed to do. This is what it sounds good. This is what, when you don't ask questions and you don't delve into the other side, or I don't know.
But on that, I think you'd be making a mistake right there. You'd be making a mistake to think that people are just misinformed and brainwashed just because they.
I don't think that everybody's misinformed and brainwashed. I don't think that by any means.
That's normally what I get when I tell people that we talk to anti-abortion. It's just like, oh, you must be one of those crazy Christians or Republicans. I'm like, it's possible to be anti-abortion and not be a crazy Republican or a woman hater or but people, they don't believe it's even an existence where that could be possible. That you don't think this is just about body freedom. You have your own opinions about it, and that's just not what you think.
Right.
And it's not for all these extra reasons that people have put on it. So, I mean, some people just really have a different opinion, and we don't think it's a good idea for our own reasons.
Right.
Hold on, let me say, Static Vibes, I like what you said, and I strongly disagree with what you said. I'm talking about Static Vibes.
Which one? The one that you got posted right now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Semantics, when you're asking when is it considered life, I don't think it's just semantics. Well, for some people, they may try to use semantics, so I'm not going to totally disagree with you there. But that's a very valid question, and based upon how you interpret that, then it does make it makes a big
the difference of everything.
Right.
And then also, if we, genuinely believe kids are a blessing and here for a reason, wouldn't be number one, everybody don't believe that kids are a blessing and here for a reason. That's number one. Number two, there's money and there's time involved. You are really taking away a huge, probably a huge portion of your own life to raise these kids for the next however long, probably for the rest of your life.
Rest of your life.
So it is it's I wouldn't call it just simple and cut and dry as that. So it's definitely a big decision.
No, it's huge. It's huge. I'm all for that family planning. That's why I said I have never wanted abortion to be legal, but the people who have now set up the scene for it to be illegal, I don't trust these people.
No, you can't.
So even though the action itself doesn't bother me, the people disturb me. And what else their agenda is hiding disturbs me.
Yep. Can't. So, and that's what I was going to say. So even I have a problem with the people who are willing to jump on that train. Even just if you have your own reasons, but you also understand that these people have different motivations behind it. Oh, that's a more philosophical question. Should you now? I'm jumping a little bit. Y'all can bring me back if I want to, but that's a question. If you are trying to get to the same place, but you have different motivations, should you jump on that train?
Ooh, Quentin, I have thought about this thing.
And the first thing I think about
much over the years.
And this, World War II. Think about that. We jumped on the train with Russia.
We did.
Knowing that we
both had a place to get to, knowing it was crazy, knowing it would be bad.
And it was probable that we wouldn't have reached our destination without jumping on the train.
But the consequences lasted for the next 50 years.
But what would the consequences have been had we not jumped on that train with them? That's a tough question.
So I'm going to tell you my philosophical position and how I've tried to arrange my life around this, right? And I've just gotten better at it. But when people short-term are doing something that I'm doing and we can agree on that short-term thing, I can hitch to you tentatively and with boundaries. And then I make it very clear that although we are doing this thing together, I am not a part of your thing. This is just a thing that we agree on that I am doing at this moment with you. Now, for instance, it was a Christian group doing something. They invited me to come and perform. I came and performed, even though I knew I did not agree with their theology. I did not agree with everything they did, but it was a good thing for the community, whatever. I'm going to come and perform and do my thing. So when they called me a month later and said, hey, we're going to make a big book with all of the artists' work together, and we're going to call it this. Well, see, that's where our wagons don't hitch no more, because that's me saying I'm a part of your thing. And I'm not a part of your thing. I don't agree with you. I will not have my name in a book with the rest of y'all. Right. So I think it's a way to do it without overdoing it. That's just me.
This is why I don't think.
Nikki, let me represent a question to you. Let me represent a question to you, Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
And if my teeth look weird, it's just because it's
being translucent. What is happening with your gold teeth? Not gold teeth.
It ain't no gold. That's why I don't do my backgrounds on StreamYard, because it's
got the green screen thing going on.
But it'll bleed through my own skin, and a lot of times, and I don't know. It don't do it on Zoom, but it do it on StreamYard. That's why I usually don't be. I got to figure it out one way or another. But anyway, so say there was. I don't know how to present this. Say that there was an ability to overturn Roe versus Wade and bring it back to make it a federally, mandated thing. But the group and the machine that was pushing this agenda were, I'm trying to figure out.
Vaccinators. Everybody
vaccinate. Yeah, the vaccinated people. And after they got to the end of this, after we got to the end of this goal, then they still pushing. There's okay. Let me say it like this. Say they vaccinators, or say there's a group or agenda that fundamentally pushes government compliance. Would you still jump on that train knowing that later on down the road they still gonna be trying to take away other rights, even though they trying to get these back for you? Would you still be willing to jump on that train?
You're asking me?
Yes, you. I'm specifically for you.
Fuck no.
Okay.
No, I'm not jumping on the train. This is why I don't date men who are vaccinated. This is why I don't date. This is why I don't date men who don't have the same philosophical beliefs as I do. Just like some people in religion have to, want to only be with somebody of their same religion because you have the same beliefs. You believe in the same shit. You think the same way. Like you have the same train of thoughts about it. It's the same thing. If I don't rock with your mission, I'm not gonna fuck with you.
My grandfather and grandmother were married for over 50 years, and they didn't.
I will hitch my own train. I will make my own train. We will get some roller skates. Huh?
I wouldn't.
So Ivory, let me ask you this, Ivory. So if your husband thought that the earth was flat, would that be a deal breaker for you?
He would not be my husband right now.
See?
Wow. See? He would not be my husband right now.
That's amazing to me.
There's no way.
Amazing.
There's no way.
Really? I'm so.
Well, this is the thing. You got to think about. Maybe women think about it more. No, y'all think about it too. I'm just thinking, even socially, in friendship circles and things. These are things that you need to have like in common.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to have the earth in common. Like
but I'm
flat around
different circles.
But the more intimate your relationships are, you have to have some commonalities. You just do some fundamental commonalities.
And some things need to be kind of built on a certain level of mutual respect. Now, let me say this, like political stuff, I don't need to agree about everything politically with my spouse. Like, even when we first got together, I was like super pro-life, almost kind of Republican, probably type stuff. And he was really, really grew up very Democrat, stuff like that. So we had a lot of varying views that way, and that was okay. But some stuff we can't. No.
Really?
Nah.
So, okay, so if the earth flat, you ain't dealing with him. Nah. What if he was Catholic?
Nah.
Wow.
Well, okay. What kind of Catholics? I've talked to some Catholics who have more progressive views. So it would depend.
It's the same thing, Q. You just don't believe in the same shit I believe in. So my shit sounds crazy. Like her shit sounds fine, but that shit sounds crazy. But we agree. We agree.
So how can you be friends with people then?
He couldn't be no Hebrew Israelite or no mess like that. I mean, I don't mean mess if you're Hebrew Israelite. No stuff like that.
For me, I have to know your heart. Like I can friend you to a certain extent. Like this, I put this post up here because I thought this was really relevant. There's things that you can agree to disagree on, right? Like we can disagree on, like this says coffee. We can disagree on food. We can disagree on
one if you like coffee, but go ahead.
But when this whole shit,
put it back up real quick, nigga.
Okay. When this whole shit with Trump started taking place, when he, started running for president and, proceeded to wreak havoc and terror, on the country or whatever, right? Like, obviously, I unfriended a very significant portion of my family, and this was all news to me that they were these people, right? Like I was not raised amongst anybody except my mom, my dad, and my sister. We moved down here when we were little kids. This is home, so everybody that we know is here, right? Mm-hmm. So we were raised with these people. So to then learn that so many of these family members that we that we always thought we had great relationships with over the years were fucking Trump supporters. And not like Trump supporters because he has good business politics, but Trump supporters because you're fucking racist. I'm done with you. You don't give a fuck if we have the same blood. You don't give a fuck about my blood.
Hold on, Nikki. I got a question.
I don't have time for that energy. So people say, oh, how can you just unfriend and how can you just disassociate from your family? Because it's not that hard when you go for what you believe in. When you believe in what you believe in, it's easy to make tough decisions. It just is.
You didn't know that they were racist until Trump came along.
I didn't. There was literally one uncle that was married into the family that we knew he was racist, like because he's from Oklahoma, and like we knew this from like we knew he was, but like I said, he was married into it, right? We didn't know that like all the fucking cousins got it too, and like we didn't because
the cousins meaning the children of the uncle.
The children of my blood families, like my aunt's children, like, and then like some of my other cousins, and like so even though you married in, I didn't know everybody else around that motherfucker was like that. We're never there. We're never there. We didn't grow up with them. We haven't seen them for years and years and years. We just interact on social media, and up until Trump, people could have their disagreements between Bush and Barack, and but it was never anything that was visibly fucking obvious. Like I'm not surprised to see white people like only take pictures with white people, right? When you live in white towns, you just know white people. Like, so it wasn't uncommon for me to like see all their pictures with white people because that's all they fucking knew. You know, it was a little, you know, it's not my lifestyle, you know, but I live in a different place too. So I didn't. I know we didn't know. And there were times where it made me really fucking sad to have to kind of disassociate from certain people because I thought that, you know, I thought that we were family. And I thought that, you know, like I didn't think that. But for them to double down and
I got
to double down.
Well, no, I was gonna also say
go ahead
before you say it. I would say in like a relationship, like a marriage kind of thing. I agree. Like you can't have major disagreements about like sexism or stuff like that.
Sexism, homophobia, you know, whatever your belief system is. Yeah.
A certain level of association, friendship, family. I could disagree about those things.
Right.
At a certain level of association. I could just not who I live with daily, but like people I could get away from. I could disagree about some of those things.
There's just only so much I can tolerate. You know, when you double down on law enforcement support, back the blue, puking fucking back the blue, but they're killing black people like day after day. Like, and it's not like this isn't happening anymore, but certainly there were times over the last couple of years where it's been very sensationalized in the television. So we get hit with them back to back to back, right? And so for people to sit on the sidelines and watch this keep happening and be like, go police and fucking back the blue. I'm like, fuck you. Like, I don't have it within my capacity of my spirit to deal with people who do not love humans for being fucking human. You know what I'm saying? Like I do not deal with oppressor mentalities. I do not deal with dominant mentalities, people who want to remove rights and protections away from other people. Like I can't do that. So it is very critical for me to have some commonalities the deeper a relationship goes. So some people I like you said, Ivory, I can disagree to, you know, with some things. Like there's a chick on my page right now. I'm having a really fucking hard time deciding if I'm gonna unfriend her ass or not, because she was, so get this, right? Like she's hella anti-vax, hella pro-life. I'm like, this fucking doesn't make any sense to me. So you're hella pro-life, you're hella anti-vax, like fuck the system and everybody who wants to shoot a shot into a person's body, and my body, my choice, my body, my choice, my body, my choice, but you're hella pro-life. Okay. You can be two things at the same time. You can be 20 things at the same time. That's fine. But I was just like, I'm really confused right now on how you understand what body autonomy is, because that's all you was hollering for like the last 2.5 years. But now you're like, nanny boo boo to you pro-choice people. You know, so
Hold on. Okay, hold on. So when you said Nana Boo Boo, do you feel like she was, when the decision was overturned, was she trying to rub it in people's faces?
Yes. Yeah, there was definitely some gloating happening.
I
heard that conversation last night. I was like, I seen it.
I stayed off social media. I didn't want to.
And that's smart.
I didn't want to be that.
You know? I admire you for that. I've had to do that too. Like I didn't used to, which is why I go to jail all the time, right? But I've had to just
let me ask this.
To just get off. It's okay.
Before you get to unfriending and blocking people and potentially getting yourself put in jail again. Have you uncovered her true motivation behind being pro-life?
Well, because she's a religious person, so that's her reason it's wrong, because God says it's wrong. Like that's her reason. She's a Christian, and that's just her beliefs. So.
But that's okay. So I mean, and that could be possible. I don't know if you had the conversation with her or not. But just because someone is Christian, and because if that's the case, then there's a lot of Black Christians. If they truly believe that, then they wouldn't be Democrats, or wouldn't be so many Black people who are Democrats, because that conflicts. It would or should conflict with your religious belief if that's the case. But and that goes back to what I was talking about, Ivory. They obviously
I have
people
tons of Christian friends who are pro-choice,
and you know what that means?
Yeah,
it means that they're Black before they're Christian.
Oh God, here we go.
I mean, but aren't you?
I'm not.
It depends on how.
You can see across the street. You can see across the street that you Black, but you can't see across the street that you Christian.
Maybe, but what I'm saying is people identify differently.
Guide your life. Like,
so some people identify as a woman before they identify as white. Some people identify as white before they identify as a woman, and that's why you got a lot of women Republicans, because they identify with their whiteness before their womanness first. If you identify with a woman, you wouldn't be a Republican. Same like if you identified as a Christian before a Black person, you wouldn't be a Democrat.
I'm not a Democrat, so maybe I do, but I'm not a Republican either. So.
Yeah, you ain't either one.
But
I'm
no, I definitely. Okay,
and that's another part of compliance. You know, political, the sides that choose compliance.
Yeah,
can't do it.
Yeah,
but this is why I was telling Quentin. One of the reasons I can't do it is because I do feel like a Christian first before anything, and I don't feel like any party can monopolize my Christianity. Like, I think that's a lie. Like, Republicans aren't more Christian than Democrats. So I think it's stupid for people to say, well, no, I'm a Republican because I'm a Christian or I have Christian values. Them fools ain't got Christian values.
Let them tell it. Let them tell it they do.
What are these amazing Christian values they're supposed to have that I'm supposed to be
infringing on other people's rights?
Being pro-life, that's
infringing on other people's rights.
Be that without being that, though. I'm not that because of that. So, but I was gonna say, Quinn, to your point, I definitely feel like I'm Black before I'm a woman. And I always know if I'm talking to a white woman and she starts dumping on Black men, like nothing about me feels like a woman in that moment. I just be like, who are you talking to?
Damn.
You can't be talking to me. Like, you couldn't have come over like sister girl and me about no Black man. So,
and I said this a long time ago. I am whatever needs me the most at that time.
I don't know about that.
I'm just telling you, that's the way I operate. So in a lot of instances where people are dumping on Christians, I was like, hold on. You ain't speaking for don't make a general statement off of your limited sample size. Like, when I feel like Christianity is being attacked, then I will jump in, because I think that's what's needed the most at that time, even if it's being attacked by whatever color. The color don't matter to me at that time. Now, there's times where I'm Black before I'm anything else. There's times when I'm a man before I'm anything else. It all depends on the circumstance. Certain times, if I feel like a different part need me the most, then that's usually what I will advocate for the most at that time.
So I will still go back to my original stance, just going back a little bit. I honestly believe, I was telling one of my friends this earlier, that we have to, about this abortion thing, we're going to just have to do a better job kind of talking to each other in the middle. Which is just because I believe, and I truly believe that life starts at conception or whatever. I need to realize that that's an extreme view. That's not the middle of this argument. Somebody who says it's completely your body, it's your body until the moment you have that baby and that baby is breathing. Every moment before then, it's your choice. Don't care how far you into your pregnancy. You also need to acknowledge that's a very extreme view, and that is not the middle of this conversation.
It ain't the baby's body at all.
I'm just saying, my point, I'm using two really extreme.
No, I mean, I agree with you. You just can't say it's completely,
But that's what I'm saying. You need,
right. That's extreme also.
Gotten to a point in this country that people don't want to say that that's extreme, and that is extreme.
Right.
I'm willing to say mine is extreme. Be willing to say yours is extreme. And maybe somewhere in this future that we now have, we can compromise on a good middle that we can all work with. That's kind of where I'm at with the discussion now. I don't feel any different than I've always felt. I'm really black and white about it. I'm not going to change my belief, but I do realize that my belief is not the center of this argument, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, that sounds great, right? But right now, right now, people that think like you won. People that
are you being a sore loser? Like,
no,
what's been going on for the last 40 years?
No, is what I said false? Is what I said untrue? Is what I said inaccurate?
But no, it's
people that feel like how she feels, whether extreme or not, won this argument. They won. The abortions have been restricted.
What happened? No, the Supreme Court did not restrict abortions.
Yes, if they're making them illegal in certain states, then they're not obtainable. That's a restriction. If they're not obtainable,
but I'm saying that's not what the Supreme Court did. What the Supreme Court did, right?
But that's essentially what the action consists of.
They took away federal protection
for
abortions, which means. Right. If you in a state that legislature don't think you should get abortions, it's going to be illegal. And in the states who think it should be illegal, that you can probably still do it to your 8 months if you want to. It means we're going to have states that have very extreme, different things about abortion. Right. That's what happened. I don't think
nobody winning or losing.
I'm saying
those that believe that abortion should not be performed, those that believe it should be more difficult to obtain them, those that don't believe that it should be performed at all because of the protection of life, which I totally understand, has won this particular debate because now
based off of what Ivory is,
they've won a piece, but
based off of what Ivory's saying, there's still going to be plenty of abortions that's going to happen.
There are going to be abortions that continue, but there is a restriction to access. Access to services has been greatly restricted because of this legislation, because of this amendment, because of this change. Access to services has been greatly restricted, if not denied, for some cases. There's nothing about that that's false. If you shut down all of the town's drug and alcohol treatment centers, if you shut down all access to service, you have restricted service. It's the same thing. If you remove from a community, you've restricted service. Has it been made illegal? Not in every state, no. Right. But immediately within the day that it passed, 4 states did make it illegal in their states. And within the next 30 days, another handful or more of states is supposed to also make it to where it is also inaccessible to obtain. So restricted. So people like me who think that women should have access to services widely available in communities in which they already exist, people like me who believe that those are fundamental rights to medical care, We did not win this argument. It's been restricted. It's not in the favor of people who are pro-choice. It's in the favor of people who are pro-life. And
I can only speak for myself. I didn't look at it as a winning or losing.
Because your side won. Because pro-lifers, because pro-life won this.
To me, Nikki, I'm saying for me, I didn't wake up when they did the decision and say, "Oh, great day in the movie. I won. We won."
But essentially,
that's not how I felt.
But essentially, your philosophy did. So you did, even though you might not have said that when you woke up and like wrote it on a piece of paper and like said, "Hey, I won." Those that have your same philosophy and agenda and belief in this particular issue.
It's not
y'all won.
I don't see how anybody could look at it as a win when
difficult. I really don't know how you don't understand like what I'm explaining, how one side wins and one side doesn't.
Because abortion will still be legal in certain states.
Has it been significantly modified, restricted, and stripped? Yes. Does that make it more difficult for people to obtain service? Yes. Is it going to make it impossible for some women to get one? Yes. Does it mean more women are going to have them illegally and more dangerously? Yes. Are there going to be more babies put into foster care systems or killed because women can't have these babies? Yes. So there's a
You're saying that all from your perspective.
There is a side. That's not the perspective. That's the truth.
I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying on another perspective for a person who purely believes that it's a life inside of that body. And I wish we can do everything that we could do to protect those lives. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be states where abortion is legal. And anyone who has that mindset cannot look at it like it's a win, because those same things are still. So say, for instance, I'm gonna use Illinois. That's where we're from. It's a blue state. More than likely, they're not going to overturn it in Illinois. More than likely. In the instance of someone living in Illinois and they're completely against abortion, and they believe that that child inside has the right to life just like everybody on the outside, and this law passes from the government standpoint, but nothing in Illinois changes, and those same abortions are still happening, how could that person look at it like, oh yeah, we won, we good? They won't see it that way. I'm telling you perspective. They're not going to look at it like, oh, we won. The same clinic that was there last week is going to be there this week and the week after that.
Not with Roe v. Wade being overturned.
It's not going to change in Democratic states, though.
In Democratic states, that's not going to change. It's not going to change anything in Democratic states.
Right. So if you don't live in one of those states, then you're fucked. If you don't live in one of those states, then now your ability to get to a state.
My argument was about my argument when you were saying, well, y'all won. It's like, no, everybody's not going to look at it like it's a win.
It is if less babies are dying because abortions are not being performed.
So, Nikki, so in the same, if you are a person,
there's a winner and a loser in
say this. You are a person who would go every weekend. You go to the abortion clinic every weekend and you got the signs up saying, we need to stop abortion. We need to stop abortion. We need to stop it. It's a life. We need to stop it. And this law gets passed last week. And the next week, you go to that same clinic and the exact same business as usual is going on. Are you not going to have to stand up and say, we need to stop it, we need to stop it? Or are you going to say, oh, our work is done? Because in some states it's just not, in some states it's been abolished. Not in my neighborhood. I'm saying for those people, they're not going to look at it like they won. And there's going to be plenty of those people who not looking at it like it's a win. Because it didn't directly affect their communities is still dealing with their same perceived plight that they have.
Right. But the majority of the states have legislation that is there's only gonna be right now. I had a fucking meme that I posted of all the states that will still perform them and the states that will not be performing them and the states that will have restrictions. And there are far less states that will be performing them as they are currently than there were states that were before this got overturned.
There's definitely more red states than blue states. Rural America.
Yeah, I think there was only maybe, I want to say 10 or 12 states tops where there was still going to be access to abortion services. And like I said, after Texas goes Texas goes, they're not legal in the next 30 days. And so Texas, the next state next to Texas, I think, to get one is New Mexico. Every other state, Oklahoma, Louisiana, pretty much everything out to the west, to the east of Texas is all red. So there was no states over that way. I think up New York way, maybe yes, and out west way.
You got California. You got
So again, it's the restriction to services. It's so for those that don't want these procedures being performed and so if you restrict the services, you're obviously going to have more babies. You're going to have more pregnancies because there's going to be less women who have access to service to ending this pregnancy.
Hold on. Pause right there.
Wait.
Let me ask, because I do have a question about that. Ivory, I'm going to jump to you. Do you think that there will be more babies born? And if so, because then the other argument could be made, if this option is not readily available on the table, people will make different decisions on how they move forward when having sex. Maybe not all, but some. I mean, I don't know. I'm asking your opinion on it.
I definitely think yes, more babies will be born. And because some people are just not going to be able to have the resources or the wherewithal to actually travel to other states. And then a lot of times when people, just being honest, when people are in a situation where they need to get an abortion, a lot of times it was hopeless behavior that got them there in the first place. And that kind of same hopeless behavior is the thing that won't have you doing all that extra planning to get out of state and out of all that other stuff too. Because it's just like, okay, I got myself in this situation. What can I do to get myself out of it? Which is fair. So definitely the people who will probably end up having more children are lower class people. Poor people will end up having more children. Because people with money always can find a way to do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and in that case, people, definitely will have more children. But I was gonna say to the other thing, one of the reasons I didn't so much think of it as a win is because I'm still kind of going back to my earlier point, and somebody was talking about this on the news. It's like in America, we kind of killed the conversation about what abortion should look like in a conversation about choice. That we kind of killed the conversation that there was some middle of a conversation there, where most countries and places around the world didn't have kind of just free-flowing access to abortion that we have. Like, that's not the way the world works. So we actually were kind of outliers in the world from how free we are to access to abortion. But they were talking about European countries have worked together to find a good middle where, both sides can kind of agree about, maybe I don't love that you can get an abortion when, you're 10 weeks pregnant, but I could live with that. And then, the other side, you can't just get an abortion whenever you want to after 12 weeks. But if there is a really good cause and you could show that, then you can have the conversation. So that's what most countries are doing. And I felt like, if anything, I felt like it was a win. I felt like it's going to bring people back to the table to have this conversation again, where it had become something we couldn't even talk about anymore. Kind of like the trans stuff. It's like it get to a place we talking about freedom so much we can't even talk about what a good middle is anymore.
Right.
I didn't like that. It got to the place you're backwards if you want to have the conversation about what that looks like.
Right.
So in that way, I thought it was a win. Like, oh, we have to talk about this again. So as a pro-life person, I'm happy we have to talk about this again.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Interesting. All right, look, it's 9:40 something. Nikki, you got any final? What I want to do next week, because we ain't got time on it now. Tierra put up a post about this dad who brought his kids some food.
I did too. I posted both. There's 2 videos to it.
I saw the second video.
Okay, well, there's 2 videos
about that.
Yeah,
I want to have a conversation
about that. We need to talk about that because so Jay
Nikki about to talk
posted
about it. Nikki about to talk
No.
about it.
Jay McCall posted it on his personal page, and I forwarded it over to the Freethinkers page. So there's been a lot of spicy feedback between people that have commented on his page, and then of course the folks that have commented on the Freethinkers page. So if you haven't seen the video yet, go to the Freethinkers page, and there's a post that's got 2 videos attached to it, and it says, it's basically like, what are your thoughts? I do think we need to talk about that because it's like a hell of a split line between the feedback that is happening on that, and I too think that there's a hell of a middle. It's not. I don't think it's a black or white situation at all. So I think we should talk about that next week. Do we want to go into just like parenting dynamics, or do we want to go into how do we want to do that? Do we want to go into, because was it his responsibility or not? But like, is this that conversation, or is it like a parental, a baby mama, baby daddy, like a fucked up family dynamic conversation? Like, what do we call this? Because it was all of those things.
The rules, that's good. The rules, I don't know how you word it, but like, what are the rules and responsibilities, or what are when it comes to the children's siblings, but it's not the children of the
blended
parent.
families, blended families.
It ain't even a family though. It's not
a family. Are because they got chickens.
They siblings. They are my child has siblings.
Not a part of their family.
See, we about to ease into it, so
right. So that's what we gonna talk about next week.
So yeah, we're getting into that, and maybe grab a couple other things next week, and we get into it. But
absolutely, join us. Though, but that was blah, blah, blah. But for those of y'all that are watching us live, we, of course, we appreciate you. We thank you. We had a lot of great feedback on the comments tonight. Please make sure that you also share this one more time before the night is over. Join us over on our YouTube channel. Today was the last episode of Black Tea Talk, so a bunch of us are going to be together tomorrow night at Native Hostel. So I saw you repping your dirty words. So tomorrow night, if you don't have any plans, come on out, join a bunch of the Freethinker family and the Black Tea Talk family. Smack's going to do a DJ set over at Native Hostel, and then Talib Kweli comes on after that. So come join us tomorrow night. Come support. Come hang out. Come take some pictures. Share the page. Give us your topic ideas. Join us next week. Join us every Tuesday. Share whatever you have going on, of course, the page. Check out High IQ. This conversation also took place on a different level last night, so it was really cool. But I mean, at the end of the day, I do agree with you, Ivory. Conversations have to happen, regardless of how we feel, what we feel. Like, we do have to keep having these conversations. Somebody in the comments tonight said this is a great conversation. I'm learning a lot. So, I know I'm very passionate about a lot of things that I talk about. I never fucking mean offense, and if I do mean offense, then I'll tell you I mean offense. But like, I'm never probably telling you, right? But like, I do always appreciate, being able to have y'all as sounding boards, because we do have different opinions, and we do have to have these conversations, because we do got to come up with a fucking solution. We got to live here, and we all got to live amongst each other. So we do have to come up with a solution, and we may not always, like what each other thinks. But having these conversations maybe will help us find a happy middle that, works for everybody. And I think that that's what definitely has to happen right now, because I think that this does set a precedent for some really slippery slope shit that we're all about to slide into with this election season. Whether you vote or you don't, like, we've got to figure out a way to stop the same shit from happening. And so just tapping in and tuning in and being a part of our family here and engaging in these conversations and sharing knowledge that you have with us, so that we can, all grow our own perspectives. And that's Free Thinkers. That's what we do. So hopefully we'll catch you tomorrow night. Otherwise, we will catch you next Tuesday. Thank you guys for being on the show tonight, in the conversation, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday. Good night.
Good night.